That's why you need to add fur to your costume. Goes over better with the ladies. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh overview. Today, let's take a quick look, or well, as quick as I usually get, at the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian Dark Trooper. Ooh, it's Star Wars, it's Mandalorian, it's a droid, it's the Dark Trooper. Amazon and UPS only took like a week to get this to me, but I can't complain. It's now in my hands, you know? Don't look at the damage, though. This is a deluxe release, which looks a bit airy, a bit spacious within the packaging, but by the time this did release, Amazon had dropped $2 or $3. So it went whoop way up here and then down a little. So I feel like I got a deal. But it's still the Dark Trooper, and it still looks pretty sweet, so I guess we'll see what happens. Looking at the package, it seems really, really dark. I mean, it is the Dark Trooper, but what's going on here? I have all my lights on. There's the Star Wars logo, Black Series window showing you what you got. The Mandalorian packaging uses this color scheme, this orange burnt color of some kind. Warning, choking hazard, small parts. Better not use small parts. This is a deluxe release. I paid extra for this, but there's still some small. Look at those hands. Do not put them in your mouth. On the side, there's a picture of the Dark Trooper. On the back, close up of it. Little bio for the character, or lack of character. Number 28 in the series, attention, warning, small parts. On the other side, a little more color, a little more Star Wars, a little more window. On the top, there's some more clear plastic for you before it's gone. On the bottom, barcode, legalese. Let's get this open, see what's going on here. Okay, getting it out of the package, there is some neatness, there's some awesomeness, there's some weirdness. First of all, look at this badass. The finish is that shiny black that you almost hate to touch because you know you're leaving fingerprints behind. Or you have a little grease on your fingers, dust is gonna, everything's gonna show up on it. But I wouldn't want it any other way because that's how it was in the show. It's just a gloss black. The details are hard to see because of all the light bouncing off of it. But again, that's what it looked like in The Mandalorian, and that's what I wanted in action figure form. Is it distracting and kind of worrisome? Hell yeah, but at the same time, just look at this thing. In fact, looking at it through the camera right now, the silver parts really stand out. And that's really the only paint in places is right here on the bicep and up at the shoulder, at the elbow and the wrist and the knee. And the ankle. I was going to say on the foot because it was like this, but that's actual just shiny black. Here in the mid-torso, the springs or the pistons or whatever the hell they are. What surprised me is the silver here whenever you rotate the thigh out of the way. They didn't have to do that. They could have easily said, well, you're not going to see that in 87% of the time, but it kind of peeks out in neutral position, and when you get into heavy posing, there it is. Little bit of red right here on the chest piece, and then the biggie is the red in the eyes. Good grief, look how much the blue of my background's reflecting off the shoulder pads and the various parts. Oh, and I guess there's some silver right here on the forearm, internal workings of something, I don't know. On the back, well, the silver here, and the silver you can see here and in places, and these come all the way around. Other than that, you're not going to get a lot of paint here. But look how Stormtrooper-ish it feels. Has that same kind of asymmetrical design to the back. Instead of a thermal detonator, there's something else. Well, I guess it could be a thermal detonator. Maybe a future version. Maybe a droid version. Maybe an EMP. I don't know. Trying to see the sculpt design. Yeah, again, you have a lot of glare, but there's some circles and some rectangles and some shapes. I'm not used to seeing smooth parts on action figures anymore. Here it really works because of the finish. Have a seam line on the front coming down to the knee. It actually has a kneecap that has a hole through it. Well, I say kneecap, it's more like a shin guard. Oh, and you know what? Again, Stormtrooper. It's asymmetrical at the legs, too. It has this band of whatever's coming around it. Maybe they're ammo, maybe they're power pellets. Get down to 1% and just quick charge up to 5. Around the shoulders, you have a couple of rectangles, kind of simulating musculature in robot form. And again, calling back to Troopers, that guard on the back of the hand. I guess you could make a loose connection to Darth Vader with the design work on the chest, but this is probably more basic droid works within the Star Wars universe. Boop, 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 boop. Cool. Restraining bolt? Nah. That's what I think of when I see something like that. Have the... I keep saying Stormtrooper, I know, but have that kind of same neck rings right there under some mechanicals. And I guess you could say the same thing about the helmet, but there's also some Darth Vader thrown in there. The whole thing is very droid-like, but chunky. it adds some bulk to it, which restricts in a way, we'll get to that in Articulation, but also makes it more fearsome. Although now that I have this in hand, I'm kind of getting Rock'em Sock'em Robot vibes.
And you're the hard right to the job! Boy, this is the greatest!
For engineering, they've put in all the articulation that you would think, or well, that you see in the show, but it is, again, hindered because of bulk and just design itself. You're going to get 90 on the elbows, 90, well, okay, not even 90 on the knees. And those joints have those clear pegs in them. You can see through them a bit. That's at the wrist, at the elbow, at the knee, and at the ankle. And that seems to be a staple of the Disney droid design. They're just floating, they're airy, they're magnetic, it's the Force, something, who knows, but it's neat to see in live action. I think it started with K2SO and Rogue One, and then the Mandalorian brought it back for Zero's knees and ankles, and yeah, that's it, I think. And then the recent New Republic security droid also has them at its joints. Given the history of clear pegs breaking in the past, they become fragile, they become brittle. I was worried at first, but I haven't had a problem with any of those other droids, so I'm not too worried here. Now for the chest piece, this is a softer, rubbery overlay, and it floats in order to retain all the articulation there. On top of that, the big old honkin' shoulder pads are pinned in, so they also rotate up and out of the way. So when you rotate the arm up, you're going to get some hinge action, you're going to get some flex action, and you're going to get some lift action right here to all get out of the way. And even then, you're not going to get completely up. And that's all fine and dandy. It works. But when you're fiddling around with it, it does kind of jump around. It's not a hindrance. It's not even annoying. It's just something that I think about whenever I go into a pose and then, oh, it's there, it's there. This is also an overlay, the belt and the crotch cover. Although it doesn't flop around, I guess it's pegged right there on the front as far as I can tell. Yeah, right there. I'm talking like you can see that. Shiny black, matte black, shadows. Yeah, right there. So that means, oh yeah, the butt flap. If you take this off, there's some mechanical stuff under there too. And they also work some sculpting into the butterfly joint. There is a dumbbell joint up at the top of the neck with a ball down at the bottom. So you can do this. Not quite flight ready, but oh, you arc back a little bit and some down. A lot of tilt though. Side to side. Butterfly joint goes back, goes forward. Quite a bit of range actually. The benefits of having a rubber overlay and a mechanical body, I guess. Pin coming out, rotates all the way around. Again, lots of stuff happening there. Hinge at the shoulder comes up 290. Swivel right above the elbow and right below, so it's easy to get this flipped around backwards if you're not paying attention. The only way you can tell is the angle right there where it plugs into the bicep. There's a little bit more clearance on the front than the back. It allows for just a bit more movement forward, which is still 90, than to the back, which is ever so slightly less than 90. There's a swivel hinge swivel at the wrist, turns here, and then at the hand. The hinge in between has a super amount of movement. You can go up and down, or you can turn this here, bring this here, and have it go in and out, whichever direction you want to go. Ball and or dumbbell at the mid-torso gets you some hula hoop action and some rotation. Ball coming out to the hip allows for this. The armor kind of, well, that's better than I thought it'd be. Some back out. Not shabby. Swivel at the thigh, nicely hidden by the armor. Hinge at the knee comes back less than 90, forward slightly. Another rotation, but oh, well, no, there's a rotation above the knee. Again, you can get this turned around if you're not careful. But notice the gap right there compared to the gap when it's forward. Make sure this doesn't rotate. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward, front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, there is a trigger finger hand and a weapon weight holding hand, or a big OC grip, whatever. And of course, that holds a weapon. Nice detail here, makes it feel shotgunish, I think. Easily just pushes right into the hand, there's no trigger guard. And then there is some flex to the hand, so not a problem at all to get into a regular shooting pose. Or a kind of on the hunt pose. But those hands also pop off the peg, and you can put on the alternate fist hands, which seem really small, but again, it's still useful if you need some blast doors punched down or some Mandalorian heads smashed in. And then something we don't see a lot of in the Star Wars Black Series are blast effects. And in this case, they're actually flight blast effects. It's kind of a ball joint that plugs into the bottom of the foot. If you need some adjustment, you can forward, you can back, side, however you need them to go. The Dark Trooper stands at about 6 3/8 inches tall, which I didn't think was going to be big enough, but now that I have it beside the Hasbro Black Series Din Djarin and Moff Gideon, Yeah, I think that's about right. Going back and watching the scene, I think the eye line was about the top of Din's helmet. So it's not huge, but it's still pretty damn intimidating. And it's tall enough to work with your Hasbro Marvel Legends or your G.I. Joe Classified series too. So at the end of the day, I like it just as much as I thought I would. The shiny black, the red eyes, which I guess could be a little bit brighter, but it works. The silver stands out. Everything about it just screams, I'm a bad robot. For something like this, an army builder, I put it at several different places, and then Amazon is the one that just happened to ship first, but I've also got Pulse, and I think I've got one at Target. We'll see how that goes. But I don't think I'm going to get much more than that. Yes, there is the urge to, but at the same time, like I said way back at the first, rising prices. Can't do that anymore. If you enjoyed this overview, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. Wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. I just went through all of it, and then I do some posing, and then, oh, what is that right there? There's some extra detail. Or a point of asymmetry, or something that is a throwback, is a callback, reminds me of a design element from the original Star Wars or previous episodes, something.